Hello and welcome to this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast, brought to you by Advanced Services and Fuse Networks. My name is Galen.
I'm Joe.
We're coming at you from the Creative Block Studios in Seattle, Washington. So Joe, to our new listeners and viewers tuning in for the first time, how did our podcast come to be?
So it first started out as a Facebook group page, and the purpose was to bring business owners together to just kind of talk to each other, share questions, give advice to one another. And because we're a marketing company, a lot of times we get asked questions outside of just marketing. And so in a selfish way, we wanted to bring on different guest speakers to talk about all different topics related to business.
Awesome. So before we move forward, a takeaway from our previous guest, Mr. Fred Carey. What was one of your main takeaways from when Fred was on our
What's
last
his
episode?
quote? Fuck average, be legendary?
Yeah, that was the thing I remembered the most. So
No, but for him it was when you're giving a pitch to your investors, it's think like an investor and know your data points.
yeah, and that quote, again, is from the investor side. So very intriguing. So let's introduce our today's guest, Peter. Joe, do you want to get started with Peter's formal intro, please?
Yes. So Peter Schroeder is a multi-award-winning DJ and entrepreneur who founded Telzio, a pre-unicorn unified communications company. With over 2 decades of experience, Peter has collaborated with companies like Facebook, Samsung, and Airbnb, transforming the way people work and communicate. Peter's remarkable career also includes over 20 platinum records, 40 gold records, and a triple nomination for the Danish DJ Awards.
All right. And that's not enough. Despite facing challenges such as surviving a plane crash, which we will need to ask about, and becoming a father of twins, Peter continues to inspire others with his passion and unwavering drive. Everyone, welcome Peter to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you. A pleasure to be here.
All right. So we have to unpack a little bit of that intro just because there are some things that a lot of our guests haven't gone through. So having twins is enough. You know, I have 3 kids. Joe has 1. But talk to us about surviving a plane crash. When someone puts that, I mean, it's just asking for ask me about it. I just want to know about the plane crash.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because I had totally forgotten about it. I think I should probably talk to some professional about that because it kind of bubbled up again recently, maybe a year or two ago. But yeah, I was on a little commuter turboprop back in 2010, I think it was. That couldn't lock the landing gear when they're about to land, or at least they couldn't, get a little light showing that it was locked. We circled around for a few hours to burn some fuel, and then eventually landed, and the landing gear did collapse, and the propeller went through the fuselage, and no one got really hurt. I was a lady that broke an arm, but it was a little dramatic for sure.
Wow. So now on a more positive note, so being a professional DJ, the 20 platinum records, 40 gold records, we won't go through all of them, but what's the highlight of your music career before pivoting into being an entrepreneur? What's that one moment that really stands out for you in the music industry?
I mean, there's been so many good things throughout the years, and done it for so many years, but I really think one of the last gigs I ever played was really one of the best also. I played one in it was actually a private event. It was at a private farm in Hawaii. I played and very late set as the sun was coming up over some palm trees, and it was like on a hillside with like maybe 10,000 people, and just really good vibes all together. And that was just amazing.
Awesome.
So let's get to know Peter a little bit. Joe, you want to ask the first question, please?
Sure. So what are some early lessons learned as an entrepreneur?
I feel like I'm just learning lessons every single day still. I started really young, so I started my first real business when I was 14. So I've kind of been learning almost daily since in terms of these things. But I think one of the most important things I learned early on was don't undersell yourself. Don't try to be cheap just to get a client. Know your worth and price your product for it.
It seems to be a common theme with the last few guests that we've had about pricing yourself properly.
Right. So in your career, you're still young, but so far, what has been the best piece of advice that you've been given?
I think one of my good friends, Will Henschel, he usually says, before you act, be still. And that resonates with me a lot because I tend to be very reactive to things. So, and that's really good advice for me, at least personally. Just if there's something that's going wrong, or if there's someone who's mistreating you, or whatever is coming, your way in business and in life in general, just be still and wait. Wait till tomorrow with responding, or just be still.
Awesome. So since this is a marketing podcast, why is marketing important?
Well, marketing is everything. If you can't market your business, then you don't have a business. I think there's a misconception in terms of marketing and advertising, and distinguishing those two things. Because I've never advertised for any of my things, but I have always been good at marketing, and there are so many different ways you can do that, obviously. But it's important that you brand yourself right, that you put your product out there, and that it's the perception that people get is the right. And there's so many things. I went to school for graphic design, and one of the first things we learned was, colors and different things. Like, it's not bad to be a discount product or use a yellow color if that's what you are. Then make sure that people understand that in your marketing material. So marketing is everything. It's the ability to communicate what your product is and who it's for.
So before we move forward, something we're really proud about to talk about is our hashtag Valor Cares initiative. Joe, you want to give a quick plug to that, please, for us?
So during COVID, we wanted a way to give back to businesses who are maybe struggling, and we thought the best way to do that is by building free websites for businesses. So they're informational websites, typically up to 15 pages. But if you own a company and you are maybe a startup company and you don't have the funds to build a website, or maybe you have been in business for several years and you're just looking for a more professional looking website, go to our website, askvalormasterminds.com, click on Valor Cares and submit your information, and we'd be happy to get a website built for your company.
Awesome. So now we come to the part of our podcast, our Advanced Services Pump You Up Quote of the Day. And this is the first time someone's quoted something from Pippi Longstocking. So I want to ask, I'll read the quote, then I'll ask why. You're Danish, but I think it's a Swedish author. Astrid Lindgren is the author or creator. I've never tried that before, so I think I should definitely be able to do that. So share some insight with us, please.
That really resonates with me because that's basically how I live my life. I love trying new things, and I always go into it knowing that I'm going to be the best, because I'm not going to do anything. It's not worth my time to do things that I'm not going to be good at. So I, for example, don't play games with balls. I'm not good at that. But I think, just having that glass half full attitude, I've never done it before, so of course I can. I'm sure I'm going to be good.
Awesome. We love that. So now we come to our Fuse Networks Did You Know segment.
HIPAA fines per record can be steep, with the consequences of noncompliance leading to penalties ranging from $100,000 to $50,000 per individual violation. Can your practice afford that kind of loss? Get your HIPAA compliance back on track with Fuse Networks. Call Fuse Networks, your local Seattle IT experts, at 206-701-6040 for a compliance evaluation and reduce your risk.
So there's a couple myths that we will read and just want to get a quick thought from you on. So this first myth: my customers' brand loyalty will save me. Why is that a myth?
I think it's something that a lot of people walk around thinking that, hey, I have had a repeat customer for 7 years, and he's always going to be my customer. That's just not how it is today, and especially not today. Things are changing. The world is changing. Everything's always changing, but the world is changing a lot right now. And And that brand loyalty is just going out the window because it's so much easier today to find competitive products. It's not that you have to go out in the analog world and look for whatever you're looking for and find a competitor. No, it's everything is always available online and at any given time. And there's always someone who's at least as good as you. And if you think there's not, then you're delusional and you need to do some research.
All right. So it's a good transition to our next one. This trend, Joe, do you mind reading that for us, please?
Consumers expect everything to be available wherever and whenever they want it. If your business can't meet those expectations, someone else will.
Yeah. So things have, like I said before, things have changed a lot. It started really with like 15, 20 years even ago, where you started being able to order food online and have it delivered. Then groceries came during COVID, especially blossomed that whole industry. And now everything is just expected to be always available. And you as a business should at least be able to communicate with your customers at any given time and do it where your customers are. I have a good example. It's like I was out buying a car maybe a year ago or so, and I had settled on one, already test driven it, just went home to do a little bit more research, and I sent an email to the dealer who gave me his business card when we left the dealership, my wife and I. And I sent him an email just asking what would it cost to upgrade to the model with the larger engine, the same car but larger engine, right? So what's the price difference? I didn't hear anything. So 2 days later, I went down to a competing dealership with a different brand, but the same car essentially. A lot of those ones are the same, and they had the exact one I wanted, similar to the other one I'd already driven, and could answer all of my questions right away. So I just bought it, and then a month later, I got a reply on that email. I could have called him and asked that. Had his business card, had his cell phone number even. But that's not my preference. I wanted to email him. That was just how I felt comfortable communicating with at that given time. And because he wasn't, checking his email or whatever, he missed out on a sale. And that goes for everything. If you're not available where your customers are and how they want to communicate with you, you're going to miss out on the sale.
Yeah, I just had an experience with a client who a customer messaged them and they didn't reply in like a day. And then they found a replacement person to do the same service. Mm-hmm. Because nowadays, more in the cell phone age, people like you said want it on. We want our content on demand. Like I want to watch a TV show I want. If I want a coffee, I want to order it, and then I just want to go pick it up. If I want to shop for like a service, like I should know how much I'm going to pay and when I could schedule it right then and now. And if I can't, I'm frustrated. I'll go to the next guy just because there's so many options. So
someone will be able to give you what you want. So. Yeah, it's how it is, and it goes for everything, really.
Yeah, I know. Like, there's a stat I share with some clients, especially when we talk about websites and everything, but just in general, like a goldfish has an attention span of like 7-8 seconds, and humans on mobile devices, it's less than 3 seconds. So you capture them for one thing, and then we're so easily distracted onto the next thing. This stat I want to read and get your thought on. 65% of customers said they have changed to a different brand because of a poor experience. Just example you gave. After more than one bad experience, around 80% of consumers say they would rather do business with a competitor. So your example perfectly illustrates that. You had the business card in hand. If he would have replied in a timely manner, you would have probably gone out to the dealership and got your V8 instead of a V6 or whatever, all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive. And again, you share that with everything today, right? No matter what industry.
Yeah. It's not just cars or big items. It's groceries. It's everything. It's small things. It's if you get a bad experience, and that could be anything from customer support, customer service representative that's rude to you, or just doesn't understand what you're calling about or whatever you're communicating with. Or it could be I have a good example. I have a restaurant I usually order takeout from, like a Lebanese restaurant close to where I live, and it's delicious. But one time I found a piece of bone or something like that in my food, and I chewed on it. It was like very, very uncomfortable. It wasn't really insanitary or anything like that, but it was uncomfortable, and I haven't ordered there since. And I've probably ordered there 100 times before.
So sometimes the smallest things. Well, let's
Small things.
let's get into it. Our topic, Joe. You want to read the topic first, please?
How to communicate with your audience where they are. So, what are maybe one or two tips or piece of advice that you can give our audience of how to communicate with audience or their customers?
Well, so first of all, it's important to understand your audience. So you need to, of course, be available where they are. So if it's inbound communication, meaning that you want them to contact you, you need to understand your target audience and understand where it is that they spend the most time. So, certain demographics, it could be, just a phone number or an email address or even a physical location. But others could be that you need to be available on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or anything else, TikTok, and things like that. It's just important that you understand where your demographic or your target demographic prefers to communicate. So that also varies obviously a lot within the demographics itself. I like getting a text message, and for family back in Denmark, I usually use Facebook Messenger and certain things like that. But you need to understand what it is what kind of tools they use. And then for outbound communication, same thing goes, but I'm by no means an expert on those things. That's probably more your side of the table. But it's really just important to understand where it is and then be available there. Make sure that you actually take it serious. So if your demographic is let's say teenagers between 14 and 18, well, then probably TikTok is a good place today. And you need to make sure that you have a profile, that you're present, and that you also answer and you keep an eye on the messages that you receive. So when someone writes you there, that you don't just frequently log in every other week and see, there was someone wrote me 2 weeks ago. Well, then they probably went to the other dealership, right?
So let me ask that question on the flip side. So what are one or two things you see businesses do wrong when they try to communicate to their audience? Is it, like, I'm going to use this platform, this is where you'll find me? They're not flexible or agile enough to their customer needs? Or is it, they're oblivious to the message? Like, this is our one message for all our demographics. Where do you see businesses go wrong mostly?
Yeah, I think it's pretty spot on what you're saying. I think it's a mix of everything, obviously, but not being available everywhere where your demographic is. That's probably the biggest thing I see. Texting, for example, is a good example. I run a phone company and we offer text messaging, and a lot of businesses don't even understand that they can receive text messages on their main business number. And that's just important to be, because you will get messages. Like, there will be people, of course, depending on your demographic, more or less, but there will be people that text your main business number. And why are you not replying? Why are you just throwing that customer out the window? Why are you ignoring them just because you don't feel like communicating that way? I mean, then you must be in really, really have a good business and can afford to do it. I don't think a lot of business owners can. So make sure to take those things serious. Look into your demographic and see what is it, what kind of tools do they use, and then make sure that you use those ones, that you're available there.
So let's talk about text messaging, because I think for us as a company, 60% of our book of business is home service companies, right? So not all of them, I think, know the power of text. You see that as like something that businesses are starting to adopt more, just across all industries, not just the tech space, and is it
definitely?
Is it easy to incorporate? So like, let's say like a business may have a number that they've had 30 years. They're not trying to change the number. You're saying they could still get text to that number, or there's a way to make that happen? Yeah,
definitely. So you can get texts on any number, really. At least any American number can send and receive text messages. That's just a matter of having the right service provider. With Teleshow, we have the ability to, we have like a little online dashboard where you can get the messages and you can send them out to your customers and reply to them and reassign them to the colleague that you know can handle that query the best way. And you can use a mobile app for it. So it's really not much different than getting a text message on your cell phone or on your computer, as if it's like an instant message or something like that. So it's very, very easy to work with, and it gives you some capabilities in terms of collaboration within the company, and giving the business or the customer a really, really good experience when you can see their past communications, their past messages and the past times that they reached out to you, and you can refer back to that, and you can actually give them a very personalized response to the message that you're sending you. That's something you can't really do with just like a regular phone call or even an email. It's hard to see those those past communications. So it's a powerful tool that a lot of people neglect, for sure.
Well, I know for just texts and emails, like you get junk emails, you don't get junk texts. Like you always get a text on your phone. On an email, there's a spam folder, a junk folder. So that's where I've started to share with clients, like texting can be a powerful resource if utilized correctly. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even there are actually junk text once in a while that goes around, but that whole ecosystem is a lot more strict in terms of the carriers that send the messages around between each other and these things. It's a lot more controlled than just an email, where it's pretty much just the Wild West. So it's easier for carriers like us to kind of control the bad actors, and you'll also start seeing that robocalls and those kind of things are starting to go away over the next year or two. It's already gotten better.
So let me ask you a question. So I'm curious, or I just want to know, or for you to tell our audience, tell us a little bit about your company, how it got started.
Okay, yeah, well, it got started because I needed it, really. So Telsio is a business phone service. We provide a full solution for texting, calling, business communications in general. Very out of the box, very easy to work with. And I needed something like that. I was working on a different project back in 2012, I think. And I couldn't find anything that was just like out of the box easy and didn't cost too much to get started with. Like I needed something that where I get all the features, but didn't have to pay, enterprise plan fees for it. So I started coding something myself, and while I was doing that, I kind of started liking doing that. I was actually got really interested in it, and I was really just making an interface for myself to manage it and have a full feature phone system, but ended up just keep building on it, and eventually found out that, hey, that might actually be a marketable product here. So I launched it back in 2013 as a pretty basic product. Back then, it was like very limited features. But as we kind of over the years got more and more customers, we also got requests for certain features. And every time we add new features based on our customers' requests, then larger customers come on and they ask for other features. And we've really just spent 10 years building out a cool product. And focusing less on sales, but more on the product and like the whole brand and UI and everything like that, and make sure that is in place. And now we have a pretty good product, I would say.
So is there an industry that your Telsio works better for, or like a type of business? Do you have to have like I have a fleet of like 5 trucks, or 10 crews on the road, or the one-man small business? Do you guys have a specific fit of client you want to work with?
No, not really. I usually say that our target demographic or our target customer is a business that needs to communicate with their customers, and that's all of them, right? So it's interesting because we kind of shaped our product and also pricing model and all that a little differently than all our competitors. So we don't charge per user or per feature, or like a different types of plan with enterprise features only and stuff like that. We're more like just free for all. So you just pay for the calls you make and receive, text messages and those kind of things. So you get all the features from day one, and for that reason, it kind of caters to everyone, and it scales really well. So if you're a startup with that just receives a couple of calls a day, and that's it, and maybe you're just one person, that works really well for you because you just pay for those calls. But if you're a business with 2,000 employees, then that works well as well, because you don't pay per user, so you don't pay for those people that don't make any calls, but you still probably want to give an extension and give the access on the mobile app so that people can transfer calls to them once in a while when they need to. But it scales, in terms of just usage, and at the same time, because you get all the features from day one, you as a small business get the same competitive advantage as you do as the big Fortune 100 companies out there get, and I kind of like that.
Awesome. Before we close, one last plug for our Valor Cares initiative.
Yeah, so if you own a business and you're looking for a new website, we'd love to help you out. Submit your information, and we'll be in touch. And Peter, what's the easiest way for people to find you guys? Is it just going to the website or Instagram or LinkedIn page?
I would say go to telzio.com, TELZ as in zebra, IO.com. That's the best way to try out the product. There's a free trial, so I would actually just say go play around with it. It's a lot of fun to mess around with. It's like very drag and drop, very easy to work with. So go try it out. And if you want to contact me and get in touch, then go to peterschroeder.com. There's a bunch of links to my social media and my email address and all those things. So happy to talk. Always love when people reach out.
All right. Well, I got one last question. I lied. A DJ question. So put your DJ headphones on. You have your turntables on. So like if there was a party and you were losing energy, what's the one song you'd play to get people on the dance floor? What's your like go-to set? I mean, it'll probably say that your audience, know your audience. But if you're doing a party and you wanted to turn it up, well, what's the one song you're playing to like you're shooing like, all right, I got it. This is gonna happen.
Jackson 5 ABC, and that goes for a rave with in the middle of the jungle somewhere, like you can play that one at any given time and at with any crowd, and it will always work. It will always fill the dance floor.
Oh, there you go. The power of Michael, right? All right. All right. So on behalf of our sponsors, Advent Services and Fuse Networks, my name's Galen.
And I'm Joe.
Coming at you from the Creative Block Studios in Seattle, Washington. Peter, thanks for joining us on this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for having me.